Welcome back to the Reformed Athlete, guys. This is day 4 of my 10-day podcast series where I'm teaching you exactly how to train like an athlete this year for 10 days in a row so that you can make 2025 the year of the athlete for you. If you're new here, hi, my name is Caitlin. I go by Coach KP, and I'm the host of the Reformed Athlete. This podcast... Now, as I mentioned, today is day 4 of the 10-day podcast series, and day 3, we went very heavy into the strategy, into the practical aspects of how to train like an athlete. I compared it to how to train like a bodybuilder and what the differences are. Great episode. You are now an educated athlete. We love an educated woman. Now we are switching lenses. We are going more into the mental strategy side of things today because there's a really important lesson that I wish I had when I was younger, that I desperately, as I've mentioned already, desperately wish that I could tell my younger self. So we're getting into that today. So buckle up, kids. You're going to want your notepad for this. You're going to want to journal. You're going to want to write some things down because I promise you are going to get some very, very important takeaways from this message today. The concept that I want to go over is the impact that our internal dialogue has on our external actions. So for a little bit of context, something about me is that when I was younger, when I was a youth athlete, I was not a confident person. I didn't have a lot of faith in myself. I definitely didn't think that I was destined to be anything special. I was a soccer goalie, for those that don't know, and I loved it. I love soccer. I'd been playing since I was 7 years old, and it filled my heart so much. I met a lot of my friends through it. I had really positive relationships through it. I loved soccer. Except that at some point, soccer started to perpetuate this idea that I was just a very average person. It was kind of a lens that I used to justify the way that I saw myself. And this didn't have to do with soccer, but because I identified so heavily with being an athlete, I saw a lot of the flaws that I viewed about myself in soccer. And if I understood the power that my internal dialogue and the thoughts inside my head had on the ways that I would carry myself and the ways that I would view myself and the actions that I would take in my life, everything would have gone very differently. I would have had a very different life trajectory, and I don't have any regrets because I'm so happy about where I've ended up. But I would love to help a youth athlete that's hearing this potentially have a different path for themselves, or an older athlete that hears this understand that you can carry this with you and change the trajectory of your life moving forward. So like I said, I didn't have a lot of confidence. I didn't think I was anything special. I always thought that I was very average. I think that was a result of the school system that I was in and not being, the top of the top of the top of the class, or the top of the top of the top of the athletes, or the top of the top of the top of the band kids, or the top of the top of the top of the theater kids. Like, my school was just hyper competitive in absolutely everything. So if you were not being 100% perfect, A+ quality, getting the best soccer team, whatever, it didn't matter. If you weren't the absolute best at your respective branch that you decided to identify yourself with, and it was primarily, at my school at least, students, athletes, and theater. Those are the main things that really excelled at my school. If you weren't the top of that respective category, then nobody really cared about you. Like, that was the mentality, at least. I'm not going to say that's the absolute truth, but that's how I felt being a student there. And so I realized when I wasn't taking, every single honors and AP class, I didn't feel like an exceptional student. When I didn't make the 7th grade musical, because I did grow up as a musical theater kid. That's a whole separate story. Love musical theater forever. But when I didn't make the 7th grade musical, I was like, okay, not special there. And then when I played soccer, I was on the B team growing up, and then the club I was on was the second best club, not the first best club. And then I made JV when some of the kids were making varsity, and I just perpetually had this experience of I'm average, or even if I'm ever slightly above average, I'm never exceptional, I'm never great. And that was just a story that perpetuated time and time again. And now looking back, I understand that the reason I saw that story play out so many times in my life is because of the narrative I was telling myself. All it took was one day, one experience for me to go, you're not special, you're average. All it took was one moment for that narrative to set in my head that I wasn't special and that I was average, for me to continue playing that out in the real world, like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I think I'm average, so I'm going to act average. I don't think I'm great, so I'm not going to take great actions. I thought that everything was basically a predetermined path. It was very much a fixed mindset as opposed to a growth mindset. And for those that don't know, a fixed mindset is You're born with a set of skills. You're born with a circumstance. That's just the way it is. Whereas a growth mindset is, okay, this is where I am. I can take actions to get here as opposed to here, for those that listen to this, to get to a higher place as opposed to staying at the steady lower place. So I had a very fixed mindset. It's pretty pessimistic, and which is so funny because if you know me now, that's just so not me. Like, I've completely 180'd my personality and the ways that I view myself because of the ways that I have dove into the self-development world and the self-help world, and understanding that there are lessons to be drawn from being an athlete that we can still use in our life today. I just didn't realize it at the time, and it kills me because my life path really could have looked different. And again, I'm not upset about it. I'm very grateful for where I've landed, but I do think other people need to hear this, because if I had taken one single opportunity of having a thought in my head that said, I'm average, and done a rewiring set in that moment and said, I don't want to think I'm average. I instead am going to choose to think I'm great. Or at least I have the opportunity to be great. It's the concept of an affirmation. You hear people talk about affirmations all the time, like, I am rich, I am abundant, I am worthy, I am wealthy, all these things. But that's great. You want to have these aspirations you're working to. But there are steps between I'm average and I'm great to help cultivate a mindset of, I think I'm average right now, but I have the opportunity to be great. I'm telling myself I'm average, but I'm going to stop that because I don't want to identify myself that way. I want to give myself the opportunity to learn and to grow and to understand that I have the capacity and the ability to be something even better. And so if I understood the concept of stopping my thoughts and rewiring them in the moment, which is not something I learned until I went to therapy when I was, an adult, then things would have been so different for me. Because again, like I think about when I was I think about when I was a senior in high school, and it was when I was on varsity, and all my friends who I grew up playing soccer with my whole life were no longer on the team. So I was kind of the one straggler from that friend group that continued playing, and everybody else had been either on the same club team or they'd been on varsity together, whatever it is, but they were kind of a friend group. And so there was this friend group A, there was this friend group B, and then there was me, and I was the only straggler that had made it, from friend group C that continued to play soccer. And so I didn't feel well loved by my team when I was a senior in high school. I did not feel well received by my team when I was a senior in high school. I thought that they, had their friends. They didn't really want me to be there. I don't know why. It's just a narrative I created for myself. If I went and I asked my teammates, they probably would have been like, oh yeah, we liked you. But that's not the narrative I made in my head, because I was like, oh, I'm average, which means I'm not good enough to be on this team. Or I was insecure, so I was like, oh, they probably don't even want me to be here. Like, oh, like I just got on this team for sympathy. I'm the only one that plays this position. That's the only reason I'm here. I had all these narratives that were just so self-deprecating, and that just brought me down and just furthered my ideas that I was insecure and that I didn't deserve to be here and I wasn't worthy of this position. Had I understood at the time that if I had taken any single one of those thoughts and decided to think about it differently, yes, think about your thoughts differently. It sounds kind of crazy, but God, does it make a difference? I would have had a very different senior season. I would have had a very different, positive entry from soccer, because I stopped playing soccer after that. And maybe I would not have stopped playing soccer after that, because at that point, soccer was acting as this, platform through which I had no confidence. I felt bad about myself because I wasn't enjoying my experience on the teams that I was on. I wasn't confident. And so it made me hate soccer when realistically, I kind of just hated myself. I didn't need to hate soccer. I love soccer. And so for anybody that has a thought in their head that says, I'm not good enough, I'm not meant to be here, I don't deserve to be here, I'm not special, whatever it is, however that's relevant to you, that's up to you to decide. The moment that thought crosses your mind, this is what I teach my athletes inside Athletic AF. I want you to visualize a stop sign in your mind, or whatever visual works for you. Maybe it's a phrase, maybe it's a visual. I like to physically visualize a stop sign, but maybe something else works for you. Maybe you visualize a red light. Maybe, I don't know why these are all traffic related. Maybe you visualize somebody slapping you across the face. Like, you figure out what's going to resonate for you here, but something that's going to stop you dead in your tracks and go, I don't want to identify with that thought. I don't want to continue thinking that thought. I don't want to perpetuate that thought. I don't want that thought to continue forward with me, because that thought is not supporting me. That thought's not going to help me. If I believe I'm average and I keep saying I'm average or that I'm not special, that I'm not worthy, I'm going to continue thinking that. And I don't want to continue thinking that because I want to change how I view myself. I want to change my future. I want to create a brighter step forward for me because I view myself differently. I don't want to hold myself back because I view myself a certain way that isn't even true. So you're going to visualize or say whatever that stop signal is for you. You get to decide that trigger. And in the moment, you are going to rewrite that thought. So if you played pickup soccer, I think everybody's going to relate to this experience. If you played pickup soccer and let's say you gave a pass away to the other team and you know that that single play is going to haunt you again and again and again in your head and you're going to go, damn it, that was so embarrassing. I wish that didn't happen. But let's say in that moment you give the ball away and the other team scores from it and you go, I knew I wasn't a good soccer player. I knew I was no good at this. I knew I'm washed up. Stop. Visualize your stop sign or your phrase, whatever it is, and go, I have so much ability to become a better soccer player, and I am so excited to get to practice to get to that point. Or I'm so grateful I have a body that allows me to continue to play soccer so that I can get better and better each week. Or for me, when I think about the high school situation where I felt like my teammates didn't want me there and I felt like nobody wanted to talk to me or that I was the odd one out in the bunch, I went in my head and I said, nobody likes me. I could have said, stop. I'm not putting myself out there enough to build relationships with my teammates. What I can do now is use this information to take different actions moving forward. I can start a conversation. I can, jump in on a conversation, laugh with the team, tell a story. I can be myself. I can put more of my personality into the situation, more of me into the situation, so that I can actually take different actions to feel like more a part of this team. So you can see that what this does is you're never lying to yourself. You're not telling yourself any lies. You're not going to tell yourself, I am worthy, I am the best, I am super great when you don't believe it, because you're just going to feel resistance to that. You're just going to feel like you're lying to yourself. We're not trying to do a fake it till you make it kind of thing. We're understanding where we are in our reality, in how we view ourselves, and we're taking a more positive, more growth-oriented spin on it so that we can continue to take the actions to develop into the person that we're trying to be. And everybody's going to be able to take this away in their own example, because as you can see, this isn't just gym related. This isn't just sports related. This can be work related. This can be relationship related. This can be anything related. You can really apply this to anything in your life. But the concept is whenever you catch yourself perpetuating a narrative that you don't want to believe about yourself, identifying in a way that you don't want to believe about yourself, saying things about yourself that you don't want to think anymore. If you want a better life, you have to think better thoughts. The second you catch yourself thinking those thoughts that are not supporting you, that are not bringing you to your highest good, to your highest self, to the you that's going to be the happiest in this world, that's when you say stop. Stop. I don't want to just let that thought sink in and become part of my subconscious and be the way that I believe myself. I need to stop and rewire, rethink it. Say this in a different way. Stop that negative thought. Stop the thoughts that are trending downward. Put an end to that and start the thoughts that can trend upward. Start to work on that growth mindset more. And let's make this more specific. Let's make this more specific to how you can use this in a champion mindset in a train like an athlete setting, okay? Let's say you are starting to develop a skill that you used to have again. This is so common for former athletes. Maybe it is learning to jump again. Maybe it's learning to sprint again. Maybe it's getting under the barbell again in the weight room. Maybe these are things you were all so great at when you were younger, and now you're going into it and you're thinking, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. I literally can't sprint anymore without getting absolutely gassed in 5 seconds, or I couldn't jump on that box if I wanted to. I'm intimidated. I'm scared. Whatever it is for you, as you're thinking about training like an athlete in the gym and what that looks like and the things that you get to practice, athletes don't like to be bad at things. So you tend to not want to do something that you're not like amazing at right away. And so let's say you go to do sprints on a treadmill and you're absolutely gassed, like I said, after 5 seconds, and you go, God damn, I'm so washed up. I can't believe I let myself go like this. God, I'm so out of shape. Those are the thoughts that are going to come into your head that you have to stop. You have to get ahead of those thoughts, because those are not the thoughts that we want to perpetuate about ourselves. Those are not the thoughts that we want to ingrain into our mind, and we think that I'm washed up, I am out of shape, I suck at this now. Stop sign. Stop sign moment where you go, God, I'm just so washed up now. Stop. Wow, look at how much room I have to grow. Wow, look at the opportunity that I get to do this consistently week after week, day after day, and look how much better I'm going to be able to get. Wow, I'm so excited for the moment 3 months from now when I look back and go, holy crap, look how much I've grown. Do you hear the difference in those thoughts. The thought that says, I suck, I'm washed up, is the same thought that gets you to walk out of the gym and never walk back in again. But the thought that goes, oh my God, I can't wait 3 months from now. I'm going to look back at this and go, wow, I can't believe I was so tired. Look how much I've grown. That's the thought that gets you to walk back into the gym and show up day after day, week after week, month after month for the rest of your damn life. Because there's so much power in the second statement. And there's so much self-detriment in the first one. If you tell yourself you suck, you're going to take the actions of someone that sucks. If you tell yourself, look at all this room you have to grow, look at all this opportunity ahead of you, you are going to be someone that seizes the opportunity. This isn't just about improving your confidence, although it is. This isn't just about improving your self-worth, although it is. This is also about how you trick your mind. In the most best way I can say that, how you trick your mind into taking the actions that support the best version of yourself. This is how you manipulate your brain into being an action taker, into being an opportunity taker, into being a moment seizer, because you have officially made yourself wired to believe that if you work for something and if you take consistent action, you can get to the place that you want to go to. So no, you're not spending all this time being self-deprecating and thinking that you suck and you're the worst and you're washed up and you can't believe you let yourself get to this point and now you're just walking out. You're never going to walk in again and you're going to get takeout that night. You're going to hit fast food again. You're not going to get off the couch for 3 days because you just feel so bad about yourself. That is the self-fulfilling prophecy of being lazy, of sucking, and of being out of shape. But take the growth mindset path. Take the champion path that says, I'm here, but God damn it, I want to be here. I will take any action I possibly can to get to that point. There's so much power in that. There's so much opportunity to grow into the person that you want to become with that ability to stop and rewire your mindset. And I wish more people understood this. I wish little 17-year-old Caitlin knew this. I wish that I realized that soccer wasn't the issue, that I was the issue, that I could have made friends, that I could have had a more positive relationship with that team, and that I could have had a better, departure with soccer, or maybe I could have continued playing soccer if I just realized that if I rewired my thoughts, that I could have just had such a different experience. I so wish I could tell her that, because she was so mean to herself sometimes. And I just wish I could take that away. I could rewrite that. And so if you're a youth athlete and maybe you relate to that, maybe you feel like the odd one out on your team, maybe you feel like you were never born to be the best athlete. You didn't understand that if you worked hard, you could have gotten better. That maybe you weren't the person that was supposed to go get a scholarship to a great school because that's not your path. You've never seen anybody do that before. Whatever thoughts are filling your mind, if you're a youth athlete and you're hearing this, don't just accept that. There's absolutely no reason you have to just accept a narrative. Actively put in the work to rewire your thoughts, to think differently, to take more empowered action, and you can have a different future than maybe you thought that you were capable of. And if you're a former athlete and you're hearing this, and maybe you are the person that tried to do sprints on a treadmill, walked out, and then went on a fast food, no movement, Netflix binge for the weekend. Or maybe you are the former athlete that wanted to start lifting under a barbell again, but you're so embarrassed by the weight they're using now compared to what you used to have that you were like, ugh, what's the point? I'm just going to go to, a Soul Cycle class again. I don't know. That was random. If you like Soul Cycle, go to Soul Cycle. But if you want to feel strong and empowered through your weight training, if you want to train like an athlete at the gym, if you don't want to be intimidated to jump on the box because you understand that to get to the 24-inch box, you have to hit the 6 and then the 12 and then the 15 and the 18 and then the 20 and then the 24. If you want to hit a new PR in your squat and you used to lift 135 and now you can barely do the barbell for 45 pounds, maybe that's when you understand, okay, I'm going to hit 45 and then 55 and then 75 and then 100, and that's how I'm going to build back up to my squat PR. Or if you want to do the sprints on a treadmill, maybe you understand, okay, I've got to start walking, and then I've got to start doing some jogging, and then I've got to start doing some exercises that are going to help me sprint, and I've got to start working my lungs consistently again so that I can actually be able to withstand this high intensity activity, and I'll actually be able to be proud of how fast I'm able to move again. If you are someone that thinks you're just too old, you're too washed up, like your time has passed, you're in your 40s, you're in your 50s, you're in your 60s, you are not supposed to be an athlete anymore. That's a thing of the past. That's for teenagers and 20-year-olds. That's not the case. If you would just stop and rewire your mindset, rewire your mentality, and understand that your age doesn't define your abilities. Your lack of current athleticism, your lack of current fitness does not define your ability to be fit and your ability to be athletic in the future. If you would just rewire those thoughts in your head that is telling you that narrative, you would understand how much power you actually have to make different decisions, to take different actions, and to have a completely different life. Like, I feel so passionately about this because I think of all of the people that have just doomed themselves to have chronic pain and chronic aches and to fall off a curb and break their ankle, break their hip, hurt their back, whatever it is. All the people that are getting to older ages where that's actually a deadly prescription. If that happens, that is something that could actually just take you out of the game for good. And I see all these people just thinking that they can't be athletes anymore, and they can't do reactive training, and they can't do balance training, they can't do weight training, and they can't do sprint training, they can't do any of this because they're too old. You're not. You're not. You actually have the power to age healthier. You actually have the power to create a longer, healthier lifespan, to extend your health span, to not just rot away the last 20 years of your life, but to understand that you have the power to actually take actions that are going to be able to keep up with your grandkids, to go on the family hike, to walk the family dogs, whatever it is. You have the ability as an individual to make the decisions and to take the actions in your daily life to empower yourself into better health. As long as you understand mentally, you understand upstairs that that's what you're working towards. You don't think, oh, I'm old, I'm supposed to be in pain. Oh, I'm old, I'm supposed to get injured. Oh, I'm old, I'm supposed to be frail. Oh, I'm washed up, I'm not supposed to sprint anymore. Oh, I'm washed up, I'm not supposed to do plyometrics anymore. All of these are just narratives. And if you change the internal dialogue and you empower yourself with these messages, instead of making yourself feel terrible with these messages, instead of making yourself feel disempowered, but you actually empower yourself, it's going to make such a big difference. It's going to make such a big difference. And I feel so strongly about that because I think people can change the outcomes of their lives at any stage of their life, whether a youth athlete, a newly retired athlete, a intermediately retired athlete, 20 years out of the game, or you're an older retired athlete and you're 40 years out of the game. I have seen people at every single age. I've trained people at every single age to redefine their athleticism, to rediscover their inner champion, and to understand that you can be a lifelong athlete if you allow your inner dialogue to support your external actions. Nobody else has to define your life path, your life trajectory for you. That's all on you. You get to be the decider of that. So you get to decide, I'm old, everything's supposed to hurt now. You get to decide, I'm older, I'm not supposed to move like that anymore. Or I'm scared I'm going to hurt myself. You can decide that. Or you can use your internal dialogue to say, I am capable of becoming more athletic. I am capable of improving my fitness. I am worthy of living a longer, healthier life. This is all within my capacity. This is all within my power. That wasn't off topic, but it wasn't super on topic. That's just a tangent that had to come out. I don't know if I'm going to keep that. So as you go forward with your day now, whether you're listening to this in a car, you're watching it while you do the dishes, you're watching it while you fold laundry, whatever it is, when you hear this message, allow it to really resonate. Come up with an action plan. Come up with your own stop sign. Start being more aware of the thoughts you're telling yourself, of the language that you have in your head. Just bring more awareness to it. Just observe it more. And every time you catch yourself thinking a thought that you don't think is bringing you to the best possible future, to your best possible self, if you think you're being self-deprecating versus being empowered, stop that thought and rewire it in a way that you feel more empowered to take the action that's going to bring you more close to the future that you are trying to work towards. It's not a hard thing to do, but it does take practice to bring that consistent level of awareness to what you're thinking. And it's taken me years. I started doing this in 2018. It's 2025. And I still catch myself doing this all the time, but it's almost second nature now. So there is hope, there is faith. And you absolutely have the ability to redefine the way your future is going. So I hope you guys enjoyed that episode today. This one I felt really strongly about just because of how significant of a difference this has made in my life as a, 20-something year old, and the way that I know it would have impacted my life as a teenager. and the ways that I've seen it impact the lives of the clients that I work with, whether, again, they're my age or whether they're in their 50s and 60s, because we've seen it all. We've seen it all. So if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to save it, listen to it as many times as you need. I recommend listening to it at least one more time so you can digest everything that I said and figure out how it applies to your life. Go ahead, whatever platform you're listening to this on, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Apple, like it, subscribe to it, give it 5 stars, comment what your thoughts are. Let me know if this episode impacted you. I always love to hear your comments. If you guys vibe with this style of coaching, you guys know how to get involved into my world. I have a 6-month team coaching program called Athletic AF. You can go into the show notes and see the link to that. I do talks like this every single Monday where I get your mind right for the week ahead, and we come up with a game plan with strategic action plans to make sure that you are following the plan that you need to succeed all week, as well as 6 months of athlete style workouts building from the ground up. So if you're interested in that, if you like the style of coaching, if this is the mentality you want to surround yourself with, join me, Coach KP, join the team. We have a whole team of athletes that are ready to welcome you in with open arms, that are going to have your back during this journey. And if you guys got value from this episode, just please share it with your people. All right. I will see you guys for day 5. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm very excited to continue this series.